Hello, hello, hello. Happy Thursday, y'all. Welcome to Bankroll Your Brilliance Thursdays. One day a week where I come in to give you all you need to get paid for what you know. Now, listen, there are three areas that we go in on Bankroll Your Brilliance Thursdays. Oh, and by the way, I'm Nicole Jones, your Bankroll Your Brilliance expert. Forgot to say that. So there are three critical areas you've got to really understand in order to create multiple streams of income from what you know. The first is, what is your brilliance? What's your purpose? What's the one thing God created you to do or be? And how do you stand in it unapologetically? That's area one. The second is a value tied to it. So many of us overlook our gift, our talents, our purpose. And then the third is how to create multiple streams of revenue from it. So before I introduce our guest for this week, you guys know how I do. If you've been here before, I will always want you to come in and tell me your name and where you're from. Say hello. Now, as my grandmother would say, don't come in the house and not speak. So at least tell us, hey, right? The other thing I want to encourage you to do as you come in and I bring in our expert for this week, if you have questions, I want you to type them and she'll answer them live. If she's stepping on your toes, I want you to give her a fire emoji, right? Or if she's just, I was going to say preaching good, and she might preach, right? If she's teaching good, then give her some hearts, right? We want this to be interactive. Although we can't hear you, we can see your comments, we can see your emojis. So we want you to be interactive while we are here. Hey, Della in Douglasville, Georgia. And I know where Douglasville is because my girlfriend used to live in Douglasville, right? One of my girlfriends. So with that said, come on in and say hello. And now I'm going to go ahead and start to introduce our guest for the hour. Of course, my allergies are acting crazy right now. So our conversation today is letting go of yesterday to move into tomorrow. Hey, Kathy in Hampton, Virginia. And so our guest, Dr. Janice R. Love, is a motivational speaker. She's a wife, a VIP expert, and a best-selling author of not one, not two, but three books. But she's also known as the first lady coach and a wife reinvention strategist. Ooh, that sounds good. Don't y'all want to know about that? Right? Even if you're not a wife, you need to know about a wife reinvention strategist to get you ready to be a wife, right? Listen, she empowers wives married to influencers to step into their own greatness so they can have their own voice, identity, and platform. As a CEO of Pearls Perfected, she equips wives for more fulfilling lives and being unapologetic about who God created and called and chose them to be. As a first lady herself, Janice is uniquely positioned to speak about what she calls her own purpose identifying event. And we're about to hear all about it, right? Which ultimately led her to help women create their own roadmap to walk in the purpose for which they've been created. So Miss Monica, hello in Michigan, and Nicola in Raleigh, and Cherie in Brooklyn, and Paulette in Potomac, Maryland. Please help me welcome Dr. Janice Love. Hey, girl.
Hey, Nicole.
Excited to have you here. Super excited.
You just don't know how excited I am to be here. You are doing some great things, and I am excited about it.
Yes. So let's just dig right in. And I see, oh, we got somebody from France in the house. All right. Paris. Well, you might not be in Paris, but that's what I think of when I think of France, right? So welcome, Unica. I hope I'm saying your name correctly. So with that, let's pour right in. So why did you have to let go of yesterday to move into your tomorrow? It's like, what prompted that for you?
So, I'm a first lady, right? But and me and my husband are just quite the pair. We love each other. We are having a good time. I am walking beside him. We are doing our thing. But
and wait, I gotta say, y'all gotta watch them in social media. They are so cute. I love watching all your posts. I have to say this. So she's saying this, but it's real because I watch her posts and I'm always heartening and liking it because I just love watching y'all together.
But I might as well let the cat out of the bag, right? This is my second pastor husband. So here's what happened. Everybody knows how the pastor's appreciation goes down, right? And this was the very first one with my former husband. Here we were. You know I was dressed, Nicole, right?
Oh, of course.
Even though red is not my color, that day I had on a red candy apple suit with a hat trimmed in leopard. You hear me? Trimmed in leopard, looking good. My mama was there. My whole family was there. And there we were to celebrate the pastoral appreciation, the very first one. So it was a wonderful day. We had a good time. I was looking good, felt good. Everybody was happy. So we get home. I'm still feeling it, right? And I say, hubby, oh, I'm so proud of you. How did I do? He's like, you did all right. It's like, what you mean I did all right? He's like, well, you did all right, but you know what? I wish you were a lot more like Pat. Now she's the perfect first lady.
Woo.
Now, Nicole, I had on some red pumps earlier that would have been great right upside his head right about then.
Okay.
Right? But and so imagine at that point that you are living a life where someone doesn't value who you are.
Right.
And
Right.
anybody knows in the first lady role, there's all these expectations of you. So needless to say, I had to choose me.
Yeah.
Okay. But then you know what happened then.
Wait, but I
I
gotta say
began
this because listen, she brushing over this, but y'all gotta just think about what that would be if it was you. Because I know I would have been devastated. I'd have
oh
been shocked because not only did you have on the baddest outfit, but I know you prepared your speech. You were like, "Yes, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna tear it up," right? Because you're doing it not just for your husband, but for the kingdom. And so for
yes,
your husband to come and pull a rug underneath you and say, you're all right. It's like,
right, right. So you know my face hit the floor. And it's hard to scrape you up off the floor after something like that. Well,
right,
anyway,
right.
I had to choose me at that point. I really had to choose me. And so we divorced. And if you know anything about church gossip, I
Mm-hmm.
became the talk of the town.
Yeah.
And I had to question who I was.
Yeah.
When I look back, I was trying to be everything the church wanted me to be, especially what he wanted me to be. And then all
Mm,
along, he wanted me to be like somebody else. So I couldn't do
mm.
it. So, of course, 4 years later, I'm going about my business being a happy single woman, And you'll never guess what happens. I meet the love of my life, but guess what? He's a pastor. So here I am once again, married to ministry, but this time I'm doing it right because this time I'm choosing to be me. And so
Yes.
when I got into this, I said, you know what? I'm going to write a book to help other first ladies so that they don't never have to go through what I went through. So I
Yeah.
got started on that journey to write that book because I was really going to tell everybody how to do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't get it done, just could not get it done. And
Mm,
I ran across this article that talked about how lonely first ladies were.
mm.
And I was like, oh, those poor girls, they need some help, right? And, the Holy Spirit will tap you when you out of hand, right? And so the Holy Spirit tapped me and said, you used to be one of them.
Hello. Come on.
At that moment, I heard God saying to me, you are here for such a time as this. There's a reason why you were married to ministry twice. There's a reason why I put you in this position. It's all for my glory, and I am sending you to help other women who are dealing with the same kinds of things so they never have to go through what you went through. So
Ooh.
here I am, First Lady Coach. And again, my goal is not only to help first ladies, because what I found, Nicole, is that so many other women were contacting me as I was
Yeah.
working with first ladies and said, I'm going through this too. And so when I really look at it,
Mm-hmm.
it's not about the role that you play as a first lady or whatever. It's being married to somebody who is bigger than life sometimes, right? Everybody
Yeah.
will pass you to get to them. It's all
Mm-hmm.
about being married to somebody who has their own agenda, who have their own passion, their own purpose. They are living their best life, right? And you are supporting them, but there's something missing inside you because
Mm,
you don't know
mm.
what your purpose is or what
That's
you're
good.
called to do because you're overshadowed by how big he is.
That's so good. And I have to say, prior to my husband, I have to out myself. So I
Mhm.
wasn't married yet. Hallelujah, we didn't get married, but I was dating a politician. And I saw
Mhm.
this happen firsthand where I was doing the work I'm doing now, right? And he was running for office. And I remember him asking me to put my business on hold. Now I said okay, because it became an argument. I said okay, but I never put it on hold. Because this is not a business. This is my purpose. Okay. But I just said okay, just to shut him up, to be honest, right? So when he won, now mind you, I organized more volunteers, I walked more precincts, I did everything, still running my business. When he won, I showed him all the things I did while he was getting elected. He was livid. Okay. Now, on top of this argument, and by the way, this is about to be our last date, what I'm going to tell you right now. So, on top of this argument, we go on a date with a councilwoman and her husband. So, he is a politician and I'm his fiance, right? Well, yeah.
Mhm.
And now we're going on a date with a politician that's a woman with her husband. So we get to dinner. And by the way, back then I had my business and I was an adjunct professor at USC. So I was already doing my own thing. I want y'all to get this, right? So with that said, I literally started talking to her. She said, "Tell me what you do, and tell me, And so, oops, I didn't mean to put that up there. And she said, "Tell me what you do." So I started talking to her about the stuff I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And we get in the car and he goes, "Well, why'd you have to tell her what you do?" Excuse me? As if so I'm just supposed to be arm candy. I'm not supposed to have my own agenda. I'm not supposed to have my own purpose. You have your job and I'm supporting it. And the thing I love about you, Janice, I love that you saw it, that God tapped you on the shoulder and said, okay, the first one didn't get it. He didn't get it.
No.
And you could have lost yourself and you chose yourself. But then the second time you chose yourself, which is great, but now you get to hold the space for other. And I love that she said, not just first lady. So I want y'all to
Mm-hmm.
ask questions,
Oh,
whether
yeah.
you already married and maybe you've lost yourself and you're trying to find yourself again, or, you want to be married and you want to make sure you keep yourself, right? Because
Or
you can.
even the whole thing, so many times there's all these things that go through our minds when we are in this role, right? That
Yeah.
we can't trust anybody, right? Because we don't know if they're wanting to be our friend because of our husband or
Yeah.
to get in our business, right? So we feel like we don't have a safe place to go. We feel like that everybody's judging every little thing we do, whether
Mhm.
it's what you wear, what you say, just like Michelle Obama. We know how they treated her, right?
Yeah.
She's just trying to be herself and being criticized
Mm.
and being talked about. I really appreciate the fact that she was real about
Yeah.
the things that she experienced as the first lady. And that opened the door for people to be a little more open about it and realize there's a community where you can go that's a safe place for you. And that's what I provide for those women that I.
Mm. That's so good. So as we're talking about it, let's dig deeper into this whole wife reinvention strategist. And I want you to get, I'm talking about first ladies and also those of you that are married to influential men and or will be, right? Maybe you naming it and claiming it that your man's gonna be a man of influence, right? So let explain to us what exactly is a wife reinvention strategist.
So when you look at the role that you play as what I call a wife VIP, right? There's no job description for it. There's all these various expectations that people have based on the history. Maybe they knew the former boss's wife, or they knew the former. They have these expectations about you, what you should be, or who you should be. So think about it. When you say, okay, I meet the pastor. So sometimes we are automatically put in our mind what his wife should look like, what she
Okay.
should be like, all of that. And so oftentimes what will happen to women is they will get consumed by that because of fear, not wanting to cause problems for their husband,
Mhm.
not confident in who they are because they haven't sought God to find out what their purpose is. So what I do is I get them where they are and then I help them to reinvent themselves. And most of my model is based on the Esther story. Think about Esther.
Mm.
Think
Mm.
about Esther. Esther came into a situation having experienced all these things, feeling most likely like she had no power whatsoever in the situation. Right? So now she is presented with an opportunity to do what she's called to do, but she's scared, right? She had to get checked by her cousin. But she, at that point, once she realized what her purpose was and what her platform was supposed to be, we didn't have any trouble out of her. She reinvented herself, right? It
Mm.
was all about what she knew that God had already prepared, what she thought. She had to switch those thoughts up so that she could actually step out on faith and say, I'm going to do it. I don't care what happens to me at this point. I am going to do it. And then she had to put her plan together. So I
Yeah.
help women to reinvent themselves. And it's all about what they know, what they think, helping them to transform those thoughts, and then helping them to put together what I call their purpose implementation plan. So it's
Mm.
all about reinventing yourself, because I had to do it several times myself,
Right,
right?
right. I
Because
love
of
that.
the situation. And
Mhm.
so I have a clear formula, clear pathway that helps women to do that.
That's so good. So Nicole Washington is asking, what's the title? So what she's referring to is the book of Esther in the Bible.
Uh-huh.
And the thing, and what we have in common is we love us some Esther, right? And
Esther,
look,
yes, we do.
and speaking of people, here comes her husband. Janice has been so transparent in this process. God has been a blessing through her and a tremendous support to me. Love me some her. I knew he was gonna come in here at some point.
You
Hello,
know
Reverend
me, well,
Bobby Love.
I can't go nowhere without that man trying to follow me around. But thank you,
I love
baby.
it. But that speaks to the support. But anyway, so let me focus because I got excited. I saw his name and I was like, I got to put that up.
Right.
So we have Esther in common. The thing that I love about Esther, and I want you guys to get this, I love that she said all the stuff she was supposed to be, right? So, first of all, she was a Jew. A Jew should
Mm-hmm.
never be queen. So
Mm-hmm.
first she shifted her name. So her name is Hadassah. I'm probably saying it wrong because I
Mm-hmm.
was asleep in phonics
That's all
class.
right.
Oh
You
no,
got it.
I was asleep. I was probably talking in phonics class, right? Anyway, so they changed her name from Hadassah to Esther. One.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Two, she becomes queen. Now, listen, she stood out because she was different. The thing that I love about Esther is she did not try to be like all these other women. So I always say it's kind of like The Bachelor. You know, you guys have seen The Bachelor, or at least commercials if you've never watched it, because I've never really watched it. But you see all these women competing for The Bachelor. Well, it was like that.
Mm-hmm.
All these women were competing for king. Esther never tried to be like anybody else. And the fact that she didn't get raised in the palace, she wasn't raised in a certain way, made her stand out as the one he wanted.
Exactly. Exactly. And I can talk about Esther all day long, but
Mm-hmm.
when you really think about it, look at the events that happened in her life. I talk about these things called purpose identifying events, PI for short, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a PI is something that happens in your life that really points the direction to what God is calling you to do.
Ooh,
So when you
yes.
think about Esther's life, her parents died. She was forced to go move with her cousin. She was forced really to go into the harem to try to become queen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so think about a young girl not understanding what her purpose was, just doing what she feels like she's supposed to be doing, and staying with it, and then God revealing that to her in such an amazing way that helps her from that point. She wasn't going to have any confidence problems after that whatsoever. So I
So
love it.
good. So good. And the fact that she was willing to, because she says, if I perish, I perish. In other words, she was willing to do the things she knew she should do. She was willing to do it afraid. She was willing to pull some other people because and again, go read it. It's the book of Esther, right? This is most of
Mhm.
what I'm saying now is in chapter 4. She said, let me bring all my handmaids, which I would say my homegirls, right? Let me bring all my homegirls. We're going to pray because I need strategy. And Janice just talked about this. She didn't just go in willy nilly. She sat before God and got strategy. And what many people do is they get in a marriage. And listen, I had never seen a successful marriage. I come from an abusive household. Okay. So what I knew is I didn't want that. Okay. So you've got to be willing to get coached in order to do it the right way. So listen, I want to share Janice's gift and then we're going to ask another question. So let me put it up here because some of you guys, this is exactly what you need. So tell them what is in this Eve to Esther roadmap.
Oh, this Eve to Esther roadmap points you the way, all the steps that you need to do to actually go from Eve to Esther. Now we know where Eve messed up, right? Eve didn't understand anything about what she was supposed to be doing, and she
Mm-hmm.
got tricked. Yeah, she got tricked and believed the lie. So
Yes.
when we think about again this roadmap, it's all about what you know. It's all about what you think, and then it's all about what you do. So when you start out in the no section, there are things that God already predetermined. If you look at your driver's license or your birth certificate, there are
Mm-hmm.
things on there that you simply cannot change. Now we can go change the weight and other stuff, right? But there are things that God already predetermined. He knew where she was going to be born. He knew who her parents were going to be. He knew that they were going to pass and that he was going to have to move her to another location. So there are things that God already decided. There are things God already put in you. He put in her that ability to trust, that ability not to complain about her situation. He put all that in her. So we in the first part of the step, we actually establish your identity. We clearly determine who God made you to be. We look at the events, those PI moments that happened in your life and where they are bringing you to, and then we look at what God put in you. We actually do an assessment that looks at what God put in you.
Mm-hmm.
Then we move from there to what you were thinking. Now we know Esther had an enemy, right? And part of that enemy got into her head because the
Mm-hmm.
first time she said, "No, I'm not going to do this because I could die." The last woman, y'all saw what happened to her, right? So the last woman, she's gone forever. So if I step out there, I could actually die. And plus, he hadn't even asked for me for 6 months, right? So
Mm-hmm.
at some point, she had to transform her thoughts. And so this actually tells you how to transform your thoughts. I have this wonderful thing that I call a pearl transformer that takes your thoughts from what they used to be to what you need to have in order for God to move you in the right direction. And then finally, once you have made that decision that you are going to go for it, then we establish your purpose implementation plan and move you into that direction to actually begin to walk in the calling that God gave you, not the one that everybody else tried to sign you, but the one that God gave you. So yes, this roadmap will take you through those steps, and hey, watch yourself go from Eve, all right, over there giving us pain, right, to Esther, who eventually saved everybody because of what she was willing to do.
That's so good. So again, you get it. It's from Eve to Esther.com. Take it, because here's the thing. Is some of you guys have Esther spirit and don't realize it.
Exactly.
I mean, and I meant to say Eve spirit. You have an Eve spirit and don't realize it, right? And you have Esther too, but Eve is in the way, right?
Exactly.
And we all have the propensity to go either way, right? You could be on any way, and you could be in the middle and not know which way to go. So take the quiz, it's free. Again, from Eve to Esther.com. Grab it. So with that said, Dr. Janice Love, tell us, the last thing I want to ask you is, what is First Lady Syndrome?
Oh my gosh. So as I have been doing this, there are certain things that keep showing up. And Michelle Obama even talks about them in her book. Number one, feeling like you never have enough time with your husband because he's got all these things to do, right? Yep. Feeling like you're going to be criticized and judged for being yourself. Second guessing yourself because of all this pressure, of all these expectations that everybody has. And the list goes on and on and on. And I only find it in women who are married to influencers. I only see that it started with pastors' wives. It goes to politicians' wives. I've even seen it in wives of guys who are sports icons. I have seen it in somebody who is just simply married to the boss. Again, because people have all these expectations. So I introduce people to some of those symptoms because they never really heard of it. So I introduce them to those symptoms and tell you actually what you can do about it. So you don't want to walk around with the First Lady Syndrome.
Hello. So again, listen, you don't want to walk around with it. So take the first step. Get from Eve to Esther.com. Grab that gift. Janice, you have been such a wealth of knowledge. So tell the ladies, outside of getting your book, because if you get her book, you'll be in her email list. So you know you're going to get more, because that's not all she can give you, right? So tell the ladies, and there might be a few good men watching, how they can follow you.
They can follow me on Instagram, The First Lady Coach. You can also go to my website. I'd love to share my weekly newsletter with you, thefirstladycoach.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn at Janice R. Love. So you can find me just about everywhere, Facebook, everywhere.
Well, thank you again. Thank you for your willingness to look past yesterday and really bless all of us in our tomorrow, because you were willing to step in the gap, right? And share your story and authentically share. And I want to thank your husband, who's here too, Pastor. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing her with the world. Because here's the other thing, is partnership. As much as you wanted it, he had to want it too, which made him perfectly perfect for you, and you perfectly perfect for him. So thank you for just sharing all of that. Love you, girl.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So again, that was today's episode. Such yummy insight. So a couple things I want to ask you to do. Number one, I want you to share your insights, share your takeaways. I want you to share them here in our conversation in the comment, right? And somebody just said, we'll definitely follow you, and writing all kind of stuff, Janice. So listen, if there are topics you want us to cover, send us an email, byb@blackdoctor.org. I'm happy to share, again, whether it's around purpose, whether it's around value tied to it, whether it's around how do you create multiple streams of income from it. Any question you have end to end, send us an email. Now, listen, I got a gift for you. Starting next week, I'm doing something I do every year called the Slay Summit. I'm bringing 11 powerhouse women like Dr. Janice, right? Women like Janice that are in the journey of building a business, a purpose-focused business, right? And they share their insight. They share behind the curtain conversation we don't usually have at church on Sunday or at happy hour on Friday night, right? So when you register, it's free, slaysummit.com. And with that, listen, I'm happy to be here with you every week to give you tools, tips, insight, strategy. But if you want more, also you can follow me on Instagram at nrobertsjones. So, with that said, that's today's episode of Bankroll Your Brilliance Thursdays. Again, I'm Nicole Roberts Jones, your Bankroll Your Brilliance expert. Happy to share the space with you, for you, and look forward to continuing to pour into you week after week. So, until I get to see you again, have a phenomenal week, and I'll see you next Thursday for another episode of Bankroll Your Brilliance Thursdays. Bye, y'all.